Tee it up at Pebble Beach. Golf links for the U.S. Women's Open. Pebble Beach has played host to the U.S. Open 6 times on the men's side and the U.S. Women's Amateur twice. But this week will mark the first time it will host the U.S. Women's Open. One person who is no stranger to hoisting the U.S. Women's Open trophy is Patty Sheehan. She did it for the first time back in 1992 at Oakmont Country Club when she beat Julie Inkster in an 18-hole Monday playoff. Then just 2 years later, in 1994, at Indianwood Golf and Country Club in Michigan, Patty Sheehan won her second U.S. Women's Open title. This time, Patty shot a final round 71 to win by one shot over Tammy Green. And what a career she has put together. A 6-time major champion. 2 times, as I mentioned, winning the U.S. Women's Open. 35 LPGA Tour victories. LPGA Player of the Year back in 1983 and inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame back in 1993. And we are so fortunate to be joined by the great Patty Sheehan. She is on site at Pebble Beach, soaking in all the vibe there. Patty, thanks for joining us. First and foremost, how significant is it for the U.S. Women's Open to be there at Pebble Beach this week?
Well, you know, we've always wanted to play at the greatest courses in the world. And having played at Oakmont and winning at Oakmont, that was like the start of the greatest courses that we could play. And being here at Pebble Beach and the history here at Pebble Beach really makes it a lot more significant for the women's tour and for the women players. You know, you can't find a better place than right here at Pebble Beach.
Patty, you won your first year out on the LPGA Tour and you'd won a major within 3 years, but it took 12 years and 29 wins to get that US Open. How badly did you want that national title?
It was the one that I wanted the most because I knew how difficult it is, you know, to keep your head together for the entire week. And you got to have the patience and, you know, the game to do it. But it was very difficult for me. And I think I was probably 35 by the time I won the Open and then 37 and a couple years later. So it took me a while to figure out how to do it and how to stay patient and how to kind of grind it out.
Yeah, I know you want to tee it up, or when you want to win, rather, anytime you tee it up. But when you're playing a U.S. Women's Open, you mentioned patience. How do you define patience at a U.S. Women's Open?
I think you need to grow up. I think you need to mature and understand, you know, your strengths and weaknesses. At Oakmont, I realized that, you know, I'm probably not the best driver of the golf ball, so I didn't hit driver everywhere. And it was a super wet, long golf course, and I just wanted to play from the fairway. And my caddy, Carl Leib, and I decided that was probably the best way to approach Oakmont. Stay in the fairway and hit lots of greens and give yourself opportunity.
Well, 2 years before you won at Oakmont, Patty, you'd had a fairly painful moment in the US Open where you had a double-digit lead that fell away from you. How much of the learning curve was that? Would you have been as successful in 92 and 94 had you not gone through what you did in 1990?
You know, that was really painful. And the reason that I lost that lead was because I got hypoglycemic and the week was very long. We had a lot of rain delays and I was not nutritionally sound that week, apparently. So lost a lot of momentum, and I just couldn't seem to get ahead of the nutrition side. I was dehydrated. I didn't have enough food on board. So I learned a lot that week. And I think that was probably the biggest learning experience that I had on tour was to, you know, you've got to eat and drink and, you know, just be physically ready for that because it's a grind out there. And especially if you have weather like you get in the middle of summer in Atlanta. It's hot, it's humid, and I just wasn't quite ready for that. But what a great learning experience. And 2 years later, I got my first Open.
Patty, let's talk about the current women's game. When you look at the players today, the modern player, are they similar to the players in your era, or are they different?
Well, I think they're a lot different, actually. I think, you know, they grow up and they're very scientific about how they approach the game. And, you know, I was a field player. I didn't have science behind me. I didn't really care about the science. But these young players are all about it. They work really, really hard. They're all in fantastic shape. They know how to deal with themselves nutritionally, and it's just really remarkable how they just keep plowing through every day. They show up in the morning on Monday morning and they're ready to work. They don't take a day off like we used to try to do. They work hard and they earn it.
Patty, you mentioned the significance of this first US Women's Open at Pebble Beach. You won the first one ever held at Oakmont, so you kind of know your way around these storied golf courses. But when you were a player, did the venue matter as much when you were inside the ropes, or were you just there to dismantle whatever test was put in front of you, regardless of the history of the venue?
It was always a tough grind, so I just wanted to do the best that I could do wherever we played. And I think it's really significant, though, that we get to play these wonderful, historic golf courses from around the country for the U.S. Open, and it's just incredible that we get to come out here to Pebble and Oakmont and some of the other great courses that we've played. But I think it really is important that we continue to do that.
Well, Patty, first, thank you so much for joining us. And secondly, enjoy your morning walk on Pebble Beach. It's a great spot. And I hope you have a wonderful week at Pebble. We're going to have a lot of fun watching the best on the planet tee it up at Pebble Beach.
Yes, it's going to be quite the show. And, I won a couple of California amateurs here in the 70s. So this place holds very near and dear to my heart. And I look forward to the week.
Yeah, and I made a double bogey on 18. It's dear to my heart as well. Thank you, Patty. Have a great day.